Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the continuation of Unit 4. Today we're into Lesson 13. Lesson 13 does involve linking the screens together. So in today's lesson, you're going to combine the screens that you've designed in previous lessons into a single app. So this is when you're working with groups of threes or four. You can go ahead and each of you have now designed a screen. That was kind of the way the project was supposed to go. And now you're going to combine your screens into one app. And that's what this lesson does. It actually links all your screens together. You learn basic event-driven programming by building up the model app that you started in the previous lesson. In addition to the screen that students designed yesterday, which would have been your last lesson, you're going to learn how to create additional screens and even import screens um, from other people's projects. Okay, so today our objective is to create an event that detects and responds to user input, integrate all components from collaborative work into a final computational artifact, and create a digital prototype that incorporates the user flow for a computational artifact. All right, so today we're going to deal strictly with code.org. There is not going to be any activity guides. So if you want to go ahead and go into code.org, Unit 4, Lesson 13, that's where we'll begin. Okay, today our overview is building on the screens that you've designed in previous lessons. As a team, you're going to combine your screens into one single app. Simple code can then be added to make buttons click changes to the appropriate screen. Now, remember, if you're doing this on your own, you don't have to worry about importing screens from another person because you've created all your screens on the same computer. So we don't have to worry too much about that. The new code we're going to introduce today is onEvent, setScreen, and console log. Now, the onEvent and the setScreen are the two codes that are very important because those are the two codes that you will be using to go from one screen to another. All right. And with that in mind, let's move on to bubble number 2. Bubble number 2 starts off with the title is adding a screen. So as you can see, if you want to go through these yourself ahead of time before you watch your video, you're more than welcome to, and I'll kind of guide you through them if you did not understand them. Okay, so this is adding a screen. We're going to add a new screen to the Recycle Helper. Okay, the Recycle Helper is the app that this program has given us. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go up here, and this is the way we add a screen. This is our home page. Okay, so anything that we do in the home page, we will call it the home page. Now we're going to add a new screen. The new screen, we're going to call it the About page. So we want to go down here to our workspace. And in our workspace, this is what we're dealing with, screen number 1. We're going to call it the About screen. So we want to go About. And that's what we will call it. That is the About screen. So in the upper left-hand side, you can see there's the About screen. Background color, we can change the color on it. If you want, we can change it to whatever we decide, and we'll change it to that color just for the fun of it. Okay, so that's how we add our first screen, and we can play around with it. Create more screens, just click the drop down at the top and add of the app and display and select a new screen. All right, let's go on to bubble number 3. That was adding screens. Okay, now to add apps to your new About screen, you'll need to, or add elements, I'm sorry, to add elements to your new About screen, you'll need to first select it from the screen's dropdown, all right? So first of all, we want to go down, go to our dropdown, go to our About page, and here it gives us our workspace for our About page. Now, what it's asking us to do is complete the About space using the prototype to the right. Okay, so here's our prototype to the right. The first thing it wants us to do is create a recycling finder title. Now, here's the way you want to separate your screens also. Now, this is my About screen. So anything that I want to do in the About screen, any element, I'm going to start it out with About so that I know it's on the About screen. And I'm going to underscore it. And then I'll put the title. Like this is the title, Recycling Finder. So About title is right there, Recycling Finder. About text or underscore text. Here's the text for the Recycling Finder. And this is the About underscore home underscore button. That's the back home button. Okay, so now that we know all that, that is the best way to separate your screen. So we have an About screen. Okay, so now we're going to do About, and we're going to incorporate the title. So we bring the title button over. We'll bring the text input button, and we'll slide that over. Now we know it's Recycling Finder, so we'll call that the text We wanted to call it the about because it is the about page. Out underscore text input one. Okay, so that's our text button right there, or that's our text, our first text that we are adding. Now let's put the text in. Recycling finder. Yes. Okay, recycling finding. Now look at it goes right up there in our screen for about, and it allows us to move on from that. We also want to add a about text. So let's go with about text. Okay, this is about the title. This actually should say about text. Sure, I should put title in there. I think I should say title because we want to let it know what we're talking about. Okay, so let's do title. Okay, so now we know that it's the title portion. Okay, and that tells us that we're about text title, and that is the title there. Now we can do different things with the title. We can play around with the background. We can change around the color. We can change around the font. You can do all kinds of things with it over here in all your elements. RGB colors for the background color. Example here is that RGB. We can change the color in the background. I believe that's that's the border. I'm sorry, that's the border color. If you look up here, you can see the border around our title. That's changing. Let's go background. Here's the background. We can change the background too of that text box that we're working on. All right, and that's how that works. That's the text property. Okay. So now on our screen, let's go back and we can click on our screen again. This is the about screen as a whole. Now we can actually change the background of the screen itself too. We click on this button and we can change the background of the whole screen. That allows us to play it. This is so much easier than building web pages because in the web pages, if you remember, we had to go and code each time we put a color in, each time we did all things. With this, you're going to your workspace and you're just clicking on a button. Makes it real nice and easy. All right, so let's go on to bubble number 4. And bubble number 4 takes us into screen import. Okay, so we've worked on a screen together. You've worked on ones, I mean, not together, but we've worked on our app together, but we're doing separate screens. In addition to adding new blank screens, you can import screens from import screen. To import a screen from someone else, you'll need them to give you the URL. How do I get the URL, you ask? Oh, I'm glad you asked. It just so happens that when you go up here to share, you get our URL number, URL code, I should say. See how it comes up? And there's the URL code for somebody else's screen, or for my screen. Now, what I would want to do is send that to somebody else that I'm working on. So I would highlight it and send it to them, and then they could import my screen to their app. Okay, so here's how it works. So importing a screen, first we want to select an import screen. So we go down here, we select import screen. We copy the URL number. Now, what we should have done was copied it before we started because this is the URL number we're going to be using for the example. So we copy that, and then we import screen. Import screen. Okay, and then we put the URL in that screen. There it is. We go next. It shows us the screen that we've imported. So we go ahead and click on that screen. We import it. And look, it is now in our app. The screen that we import is now in our app. It's called the search results. Okay. Now that came from somebody else's screen that they were working on. Okay. Now that is how we import the screen. Then you can title it. You can play around with it a little bit with your properties and make it part of your actual app. Okay, move around to bubble number 5. Bubble number 5 deals with linking screens again. Yet another student created a contact screen that you can import to your app. Their share link is. Okay, let's go ahead and bring that one over too. So we highlight that, copy it, and select import screen. It even gives you instructions. Now, a lot of this I'm showing you how to do it. I'm sure a lot of you might want to do it on your own. You don't have to follow me along. It's easier sometimes to go ahead and play around with it at your own speed. Okay, so here we go. We bring that one over. We go ahead and go next. And we look at that one for contacts. We go ahead and bring that one and we import it. And Um, there's our contact screen. Okay. Copy and paste the URL. We did that. Select the screen. We did that. Click import. We did that. Use the screen dropdown to make your app so it has a home, about, contact, and search screens. So we look at it. We got home, about, contact, and search. So we've got all the screens that we should have for this assignment. Go on to bubble number 6. Bubble number 6 is button events. With our screens in place, it's time to start actually programming the app so that it responds to button clicks. For each button on each screen, you'll want to add an on event block that watches for the button to be clicked and responds appropriately. To start off with, we'll just watch the home search button and print something to the console where it's clicked. All right, so first thing we want to do is we want to look at, we're going to drag over an on event block. So here's our on event block. We'll drag it over. Okay. Then it says select the home search button. Okay. So we want to select the home search button. Home search is right there because we're dealing with the home search button. We're telling the event that we want to take it from the home search button. Now you should always put an event over here too. Event is what we usually deal with. And we want to, whoops, if I could spell it right, we'd be okay. Event, all right? Then we selected the home search button from the dropdown, drag out a console log. Okay, so we want to drag out a console log. We'll put it inside the on event, and then click the search button and look at the message in the console. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We click run, we click search, and there's our message in the console. Okay, so that's how we rotate our screens just to read the message that's in this console log. All right, go ahead and click on to go to bubble number 7. In bubble number 7, we're changing the screen on click. Okay, so the set screen block will change your app to whichever screen you specify. If you want to set screen or place a set screen block inside the on event block, you can program your buttons to change to the correct screen. All right, so we want to take out the console log, and now we're going to put set screen inside. Okay, so we're going from the home search button. Okay, the home search button's right here. And we're going to click it. It's an event. And we're going to go to, we can decide which one we want to go to. We hit the drop down on the set screen button or code, and it gives us all our options, all of our options. Let's go to contact. Okay, so now if we go ahead and click the search button, let's go ahead and run it. It should take us to our recycling finder, our contact. Okay. If we want to take it to, let's go back, reset. And if we want to change it to the about button, go ahead and put search. Oops, we've got to run it. Search, and there's our about. Okay. So that is the code that we use to change screens. All right. You can also change it to anything you want. Now, if you want it to come back too, don't forget, I should have put a button in here to go back. Okay. And that's the way we would also program it to go back or to return. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go and do the design. I'm on the About page. So let's go back here, and we want to create a button. Let's go button here, and we'll call it the Home button. Okay, so we want to also do this About again, About underscore. That means we're on the About page, and I'm going button, and I also want to call it the Home button. So we could call that home, and so underscore. And I also want to name the button home. So we want to call it the home button. So we'll call that home. All right. So now we've done that. We've actually created the button. The button's there. So now let's go back to the code portion. Go back to code. Now remember, your code and design are up here. So remember, you can go back and forth between the two, code or design. The design portion lets you play around with it and work with it in your workspace. The code allows you to play around with the coding to go from one screen to the other. So we want to bring an on event over, and we're going to go from the About page now to set screen, bring that over, and we want to go back to home. And there it is. So now we click the Home button, we run it. There it is, search, home, and it takes us back home. And all it is 2 simple pieces of coding, on event and search screen or set screen, to go back and forth in your screens themselves. It's great. I love it. And that is how easy it is to go from one screen to another. And with the screens, you can make your screens as wild as you want. You can add as much as you want. Remember, when we're in the design process, there is everything that's right here is stuff that you can add to it. Um, Labels, drop downs, check boxes, images. Images are always fun to add. Add some pictures to it. Make this as fun as you want. That's the whole idea of making apps. And like I said, I love making web pages, but I enjoy apps more because they're so much easier and you can get through them a lot quicker. Okay, let's go on to bubble number 8. Bubble number 8 is just kind of a follow-up to what we just did. Now that you've made one button work, just follow the same patterns for others. And we did that. I made a return button, so you can add more to this code. And I want you to go ahead and practice it with what you've got. And so again, our search, and I made it so we came back home. Remember, from our About button to the home page, from our home page to the About page. And that's how you do it. Make sure I guess I didn't put in the event here. It doesn't look like it's necessary because it actually worked, but I always put it in there just to make sure that I know that I'm functioning. It's a function event. So that's what we want to make sure. Okay, go to bubble number 9. After you've completed that, and do that, practice it. It's a good way to get some good coding in too. Now that you've done some practice with importing screens, it's time to start working on your Teams app. Okay, so now you're going to be working on your Teams app. And this is where I'm going to leave you because you are working with your teammates to add your screens to each other's page. Now, if you forgot how to do that, just go back in this lesson and you can see how to import your screens using the URL code that you get from each of you. Now, remember, to do that, you have to go up and share it up here. This little share button allows me to share my screen with anybody else. And the proper way to do that is, again, after I've completed my screen. So let's go back one bubble. After I've completed my screen, so I want to do my share screen or let's do my About screen. I want to share that screen. So I go up here and I click the share, and there is my URL code for sharing that particular screen. I would then copy that and paste it to my partner's email page or Gmail page and send it to them, and then they can copy it and go from there. So that's how that works, and I hope that you got a lot out of it. It's a very quick lesson, and it teaches you how to link the screens with your partners. It also teaches you how to work with your pages a little bit more and in depth. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next lesson. Thank you.